Good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark, and we're here. I'm here. You're here, and I'm super encouraged today. You got to be your own hype beast. You got to be your own wingman, wingwoman, and encourage yourself. And I had a great morning this morning. We had a great night last night. So I am super excited for today's lesson, and that is how do you become a 20-year overnight success? How do you seize your divine moment, your mission moment, the moment that your mission comes together for massive success? How do these moments look, and how do you need to live your daily life to be ready for these moments? So we're going to talk about that. We got a few pieces of other news that I'm excited about. No, we're not talking about blockchain today. No, we're not talking about COVID. No, we're not talking about any of that. We've got other fun, happy news. And you know what? Anytime you're talking about Norman Rockwell, you're talking happy news. So we're going to be talking about Norman Rockwell, and then also a very endearing Chinese gentleman in Eastern China known as Ramen Brother. We're going to talk about him and some very endearing paradigms this guy has for his fellow villagers. But before all of that, what are we doing? We're covering other news. I'm sorry. I always do that. We're covering Cup of Gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? Let's start this morning encouraging. Let's start this morning right. And let's actually encourage one another. I'm telling you what I am grateful for this morning is speaking opportunities. I love speaking opportunities. Yesterday, I was able to speak at the weddings and event professionals gathering. We shared the stage with a few other people, another gentleman by the name of Jose, another gal by the name of Jasmine. We were able to share the stage and help wedding and event professionals last night kind of get their business under control. So it was super fun to be with Laura Gardner and Giardina. I always mispronounce her last name, but they're awesome folks, and they were really putting on a good service for that. So I'm grateful for speaking opportunities because I can reach more people, A, in encouragement, B, in some education, and C, in just empowering people to kind of take the next level. Basically, the spark message of igniting lives of explosive significance. And yes, we talked about SEO. Don't give me no grief. I can still ignite lives of explosive significance even when I'm talking about SEO. So that's what I'm grateful for this morning. What are you grateful for this morning? Tell me, share in the comments, share what you're pumped about this morning and what's keeping you just amped for what's going on in your world. I'd love to hear more about what you are grateful for this morning. Let's talk about other news. Here we go. In other news, yes, Norman Rockwell. And when I say Norman Rockwell, how apple pie is that? You definitely, and I definitely think of apple pie when I think of Norman Rockwell. And I love Norman Rockwell paintings. And Norman Rockwell paintings were very famous among Saturday Evening Post subscribers. So 67 years ago, Norman Rockwell painted. I'm gonna put this in the comments. Norman Rockwell painted The Bright Future of Banking, a gorgeous painting, but an advertisement. You see, Norman Rockwell was often hired to paint advertisements in the 50s. And so a particular model by the name of Charlotte Sorensen, who at the time was age 15, was part of one of Norman Rockwell's models for this very wholesome painting of being a sophomore graduate. And as a sophomore graduate, she even had a motorboard and gown, and they sat and painted this painting, which at the time was wasn't a real runaway success. Now, the model, Charlotte Sorensen, is now 81 and lives in Boulder, Colorado. But back at the time, they were in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, which is where Norman Rockwell was living at the time and had his storefront. And he would often summon his local neighbors and pay them with a Coke or a $5 bill to sit for his paintings. Now, this particular painting, The Bright Future of Banking, was actually almost thrown in the trash. Yes, as the story goes, two gentlemen's father was out walking and saw a janitor throw a bunch of garbage away, and in that garbage was this painting. And these two gentlemen who desire to remain anonymous, as the story goes, they told the story to the gallery dealer that their father saw this painting in a trash and went up to the janitor and said, "Hey, can I have that painting? It just looks good, and it kind of looks like one of my favorite painters, Norman Rockwell. So I'd love to have the painting." So since they were kids, he hung the painting in the living room, and the kids grew up. And then since the father passed, and the painting kind of moved down to the family, and they weren't always sure if it was a Norman Rockwell, but they felt, well, maybe it's a print and we'll just keep it. Long story short, it turns out to be an actual genuine Norman Rockwell that was actually photographed and used in advertisements for the bank, but they had the original. This was a quote from the gallery owner. At the time, Norman Rockwell used more female models and female subjects in the advertisements because it represented a wider cross-section of America even back in the 50s. The Saturday Evening Post covers tended to be more male because the males were often the ones to read the Saturday Evening Posts. But it should have been a sign of the times that an artist caught his eye and realized, no, the females really do lead the advertisement and consumer world. They're basically the economic engine of our country. And he knew that way back then. An interesting just retelling, a wholesome, heartfelt retelling of where this painting kind of moved through, and the life of Charlotte Sorensen, who remembers sitting as a model, at least growing up in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And you can even see a thumbnail in the comments there, and that's her in the thumbnail, featured at the age of 15, captured by painting. Paintings are great because even before we had photography, you can actually see early America. If you want to see early America and you don't have photography of the 1700s, you can always do a Google search for the Hudson River Valley painting movement, and you'll see a lot of gorgeous early America. Hot tip there, but check that out. Now let's talk about the Ramen Brother, Mr. Chang Yun-fu in Eastern China, and his heartfelt, heartwarming way he supports his villagers. Let's check this out. Yes, Mr. Ramen Brother. Boom. This is the title of the article. This actually came from a Chinese article. So yes, it's part of the propaganda machine, but it's also really heartwarming. So Shang Yun-fu, nicknamed Ramen Brother. Ooh, Jessica pops in. Love it. Jessica pops in and says, "Good morning. I'm grateful for a babysitter. She's going to get some rest this afternoon from #MomLife." And let me tell you something. This is awesome. And you know, I hear in between the lines, man, things have gotten a little heavy and I just need some mom time, a little bath bomb, and maybe some white wine in a bathtub somewhere might be okay. Or go find a pool somewhere, or go hit the gym. Between the lines are the highs and lows. And we're going to talk about this after we talk about Shang Yun-fu, the Ramen Brother, about how you become a 20-year overnight success. And I think right here, Jessica doing some self-care is all about it. So I'm grateful. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. That's awesome. So let's love that. Boom. So Shang Yun-fu, nicknamed the Ramen Brother, just suddenly rose to internet fame, at least in China, if not in some of your meme feeds. Why is that? It came out, someone recorded Shang Yun-fu that he was making, let's just call him the Ramen Brother. That's what he goes by. They found out that he has only charging 46 cents for a bowl of ramen. Now, why is this? The message came out that Shang Yun-fu, Ramen Brother, refused to raise his prices because his fellow villagers would starve. You see, 15 years ago, he set his price, and he set his price because he wanted to make sure his fellow villagers had something to eat. Now, say what you will about socialism as a governance strategy, by all means. But socialism on the individual level is a heart issue. Capitalism, running a country from a capitalist standpoint, I fully believe in. And I do hope that in that freedom of capitalism, an individual has a little bit of socialist in them, meaning they take care of the person to the left and right of them. Now, you got to make money. And so it blew people away that Shang Yun-fu had not raised his prices in 15 years. And this video basically went absolutely viral in China. And people began to line up. And when I show you this thumbnail, you're going to get blown away. By the thousands, people started showing up. And this is a testament to how stifled the modern spirit is when they hear a simple man Ramen Brother serving his fellow man, and they just want to viscerally feel that again. People have been flocking from these massive Chinese cities just to videotape or take a photo with Sheng Yun Fu. Now, here's the fun fact about this. If that wasn't heartwarming enough about this gentleman whose heart is, and this guy's only 39 years old, his heart for other people, he was initially dismayed at the celebrity. It was really bothersome. They would show up at 6 a.m. and start live streaming, and they would live stream, and he was like, okay, this is weird. They would live stream him preparing the noodles. They'd live stream him selling noodles. He's like, come on, folks, you're killing me, Smalls. But what he found out is as the people flocked to the city just to see him and his already generous heart, they would buy food and rent rooms from his fellow villagers. And he's seeing his fellow villagers thrive, so he shrugs his shoulders and goes, I guess we'll put up with it. So what he says was this: when everybody is rich and has made their fortunes, that's when I'll raise my prices, he said in a video clip that has been viewed 200 million times. He then said people began to live stream at 6 and end their work around 10 in the evening. I understand them. He had a bit of compassion. I understand them. They are like me. They're just trying to make a living. And he said after seeing the villagers profit financially from the influx of visitors, he said now he just wants to use his celebrity status to benefit the entire village. This guy is so gentle-spirited, it's not even funny. But the question comes, if you are not nurturing, this raises a question to me, that kind of connects with our message today. And that's simply this. And there's a photo of him in the thumbnail. He's super kind, generous-looking gentleman. Are you ready for your divine moment? Are you prepared in your heart? Are you prepared mentally? Are you prepared financially? Let's talk about seizing your divine moment. You see, in 2002, someone handed me a book called Seizing Your Divine Moment by Erwin McManus. Yes, this was a Christian book. And it told the story of always being ready mentally, emotionally, always being ready and sharp for your moment. You see, it was encouraging to me because as a young person, there's a time warp. And Kiana, one of our awesome partners and employees, she sits right over there. She was saying just the other day, she said, man, I can't tell if I've got COVID brain. I can't tell if it's just a 20-something thing. But like time is at once really disorienting because I can't tell if like I'm falling behind for a 20-year-old, if I'm doing okay, like what's going on. We just had this brief conversation. And then when I was a 20-year-old, I felt the same things. Was I not moving ahead? What was I doing going to the gym every day and not really getting ripped and buff? What was I doing saving all this money if nothing really matters anyway? Seizing your divine moment. The book encouraged you to, I think it said, worry not and well-doing, or weary not and well-doing, because as you persist, most progress in life does not happen in long stretches. Most progress in life happens in moments. But the reason they say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step is because each and every step, though it does bring you closer to your goal, it also prepares you for moments that warp you ahead. So let me share real quick how this works. A very visceral anecdote happened, and we are in the middle of happening this week, and it's not even finished. You see, me and Marissa are looking at building or buying a beach home. And how this worked was this. We actually sold our previous home investment. We had 2 homes. We had an investment property, and we sold that. And we took the money and the proceeds. And of course, every time you have an equity event, you should celebrate a little bit. Every time you have a profit first, you should celebrate a little bit with your profit partners. So we took a small trip and finally went to Iceland. That's kind of where those proceeds came from. But we largely decided to save most of the proceeds. And we did. We saved a ton of money. We've saved and saved and saved. We live really frugally. And we always told ourselves, hey, we're going to put this into the next investment. But this was over 2 years ago now. Yes, we've taken some trips here or there. But there's highs and lows, and we're working in our business, and that's doing good. And then COVID hit, and it's like, oh, how's our business doing? And are we getting anywhere? Maybe we should dig into our investment. No. But it looks like there's a large chunk of money. No. We're going to live frugally. We're going to keep going. And we thought, and we kept holding out. And there's highs and lows in life. And sometimes you just want to dig into your reserve and just let's go and do this thing and persist. But I'm still going to the gym and I'm still working out. And COVID's happening. And you're like, why am I even working out? Is the country ever going to come back? I'd show up at work and make sales calls. Is this actually going anywhere. What are we doing this for? What's the light at the end of the tunnel? How many of you have had COVID steal some goals, or at least steal the line of sight you have on your goals? I know I haven't. I'd be lying if I said anything else. A lot of you, if you got honest, and I'd love to hear your honesty in the comments, a lot of you, if you were being honest, would admit that a lot of your goals have been obfuscated, blurred in COVID. What's it all about? Well, last summer, you guys know that the market was at its absolute low. And I don't tell you this to impress you, but I tell you this to impress upon you. That last summer, me and Marissa finally took some of that cash, and based on principle, not based on our highs and lows, not based on a manic moment, not based on a panic moment, not based on Wall Street bets telling us we should do this or that. We had to kind of cut ourselves from all of that and look each other in the eye and say, hey, listen, the market's at an all-time low and we live by a principle: buy low, sell high. We sold our property high out of principle. We wanted to keep the place because we wanted to do a community garden. We wanted to do lots of things, but we have a principle: buy low, sell high. And so the market was at an all-time low. Do we have the fortitude to buy low? And we challenged ourselves and said, I think we do. And we wrestled with it, and we wrestled with it, and we talked about it. So we took about $5,000 and put it in the market. And part of the comments, I mentioned a 259% investment. Again, we're not geniuses, and I don't say this to impress you, but to impress the principle upon you. And that is, that investment made 259%. Now, then what happens? Do I take the money out? Oh my gosh, that market, that money has still been in the market. And we've had some high and lows since last summer. What's our life all about? Yeah, we put that money in the bank and we don't just stare at it every day. Sometimes I do. But really, we actually still have our highs and lows, whether it's Jessica going #mom life, or whether it's me thinking what are we doing in the business? Is the market changing for websites? How do we need to be hustling? Is this even paying off? Is that even paying off? What should I be doing more of? What should I be doing less of? How are me and Marissa doing? What are these relationships? Should I prune these relationships? Life kind of moved forward, as it has for a lot of you in COVID. Well, about a month ago, the market hit an all-time high. And so me and Marissa had to look at each other, and we talked, and she knows this, and she'd confess this. We talked for like weeks. Babe, like the market's at an all-time high, and we live by a principle: buy low, sell high. Jessica comes in and confesses something. Yes, goals and relationships have been tested over the last 2 years, but I've been trying to see the positive and looking at this as an opportunity to make big changes and adapt to the times. And this paradigm right here is what we're getting at. If you have a paradigm of always improving, even when you're not sure of the goal, you're being a samurai. If you have the ability to stay sharp, even when your future's kind of blurred and you're doing the habits and you might not know what those habits are for, but you're doing the habits because doing the habits is what keeps you sharp, ready for your divine moment, you're doing the right thing. Thanks for the like, Joe. I hope you're doing fantastic this morning. This is a huge principle that Jessica is getting at. So me and Marissa return to the story. About a month ago, a few weeks ago, me and Marissa finally said, okay, I like the dividends. I like these particular stocks. I like the 259% and growing growth. And so me and Marissa spent some time. We looked each other in the eye and said, no, we live by principle. We don't live by hype. We don't live by fads. We observe the fads. We talk about the fads. We share the fads with you, but we don't live by fads, and neither should you. You should live by principle. And it was our principle to buy low, sell high. So we did some research and we found a strategy. We sold half of our profit position and put that money away. I tell you this to make and illustrate a point. Was our divine moment that we seized last summer? Yes, 100%. But was our divine moment a Cocoa Beach house? You see, another habit that Marissa has. I have the habit of getting up and trying to work out. We have the habit of always talking about our finances, always looking at our business. And Marissa has a habit that she always looks at property. She always looks at real estate. And one could look at real estate 400 times. And I think Marissa has looked at hundreds of properties over the last year. Hundreds. And she'll share them with me and I'll look and we'll crunch the numbers and that's not a deal. Hundreds. We're in the habit. Do you think you would lose heart? You betcha. I've gotten outside to work out hundreds of times and I still don't have my abs. Do you think you would lose heart? Absolutely, you would lose heart. I have lost heart and I've let myself lose heart, only to say you can lose heart, but you got to get up and finish the program tomorrow. I heard a quote, you can be a one day I will person and defer and defer and defer. One day Marissa will look at property. One day I'll get up and work on my abs. One day I'll start doing sales for the company. Or you could be a day one person. I don't care what happened yesterday. Today is day zero. I don't care what happened yesterday. Today is day zero. Today is the day for the habits. So Marissa looks at properties. Marissa looked at a property which went online at 1 a.m. on Tuesday. It's only Thursday. And by 8 a.m., we had looked at the property together and we realized, oh crap, this is the moment. This is our Chinese fire drill. This is the moment. So Tuesday morning, by Wednesday, the relationships we had been cultivating, are we just kind of pissing in the wind for me to have coffee with my good buddy, James Joseph? And are we just pissing in the wind to go visit him and his brothers playing music at late at night, which I don't normally do? Are we just pissing in the wind for me and Marissa to spend time with Dory over coffee and have fun and cultivate relationship? No. The relationship itself pays off. We all got together for the family dinner. I was honored to be at the family dinner with the Josephs at Texas Cattleman Company for James's birthday. That itself is payoff. But to be able to call your friend who's also a realtor and an investor to get into a car and drive to visit the property within 12 hours, which is 2 hours away, and to check out that property, most people would wait 2 hours in line for the next iPod, but won't wait 2 hours to look at an investment property. You read that in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So Marissa has every day not lost heart and just looked at property. And in that moment, what converged? Our relationships with the Josephs and Dory as a realtor and an investor, very successful investor, to be able to hop in the car as friends and have fun, not obligatory, just as friends and having fun. Dory was able to rally an inspector within that time. We were able to put the cash down in good confidence. Our relationship with our mortgage lender, Charles of the mortgage firm, Robbie Sampson's company, those relationships all converge in a single 6 to 12 hour period. Why? Because by noon, when we had a contract in from Dory, they had 3 other offers. Now they have 4 other offers and a backup offer that they love. And we're already under contract. You guys know what type of real estate market it is. Seizing your divine moment. All of these things converge for a single moment. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's true. But the breakthroughs happen in a moment of mental readiness. Are you mentally ready? My favorite samurai book, and if you don't own it yet, it's the Hagakure. Fantastic samurai book. And if you don't know this book, no, I don't know how to wield a sword. No, I do not understand Japanese culture the way I wish I did, but I pay homage to this book. It says this: if a person does not practice and search in his or her heart into the matter of Bushido daily, it will be difficult for them to live a brave and manly life and die a brave and manly death. Thus, it is essential to engrave this business of being a warrior into your mind daily, in the boredom, in the middle of the boredom, in the middle of the monotony, in the middle of COVID. Weary not in well-doing. I just want to encourage you today to stay strong, even when you feel like you don't know your goals. Trust that readiness of heart, readiness of body, readiness of mind, readiness of relationship prepares you for your divine moment. Yes, it'll bring you incrementally steps towards your goal. Of course it will, but exponentially closer because of readiness in an inflection moment. And here's my encouragement to you before we get going today. Sometimes you train for fitness and health, and though you have lost sight of your goals for a season, you can trust that the principles are that you train for a divine moment. So be sharp and be ready. Sometimes you invest in relationships, as I described with James and Dory, Even though you might have lost sight of your goals just for a season, you can trust the principles that you will be ready to seize your divine moment. So be sharp and be ready. Sometimes you invest in the work in front of you that's boring and monotonous and mind-numbing, not knowing where it's going and not knowing sometimes, at least for a season, how it connects to your bigger goals. By trusting in the principles that you will be mentally, financially, stably ready to seize your divine moment. So stay sharp and be ready. And sometimes you invest in the internal, often spiritual work of keeping your heart and your mind and your meditation on point, even though you might not be clear on your goals, because you live by a principle, and that is readiness brings results. So stay sharp and stay ready today. Listen, if you need any help at all with anything, let us know how we can help you. Visit stateofthespark.com. If you want to talk about things like this or just about anything that you feel will move you forward, jump over to Goals and Gratitude group on Facebook. But no matter what you do, stay sharp and ready for the mission, igniting lives of explosive significance. Have a great